Aiton, Aislinn. What you guys' views on the 27,000 children, which they say they are in gangs? It's a very interesting report. I spent some time today sort of going over it. Very interesting. What you guys' views on the Variety D? Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm just linking into my my Facebook, which I noticed a slight little hiccup there, but I think I'm getting it there as well, which is good. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the universe. Welcome to the UK. Welcome to Jamaica. Welcome to the big time. And just want to thank you so much for coming on. The topic, as you can see, is a topic which I've been speaking about for a while and speaking about for a couple of years now. Hey, Amari, are you good? And it's the same thing about young people and the different research, the different studies, and the recent report which came out today, or maybe yesterday or so, that says over 27 young people, or rather children, in gangs, according to the Children Commissioner's report. And I'm saying, what about the 54,000 parents? But let me hear, what's your thoughts on what David Lammy complained about the Comic Relief charitable process in Africa? What's your thoughts on what David Lammy complained about the Comic Relief charitable process in Africa? I wanted to touch that another day, you know. Because the topic I'm talking about now is a very potent topic regarding the young people. The topic what Lammy touched on today and his point is very valid and very profound, and it needs to be dissected. But I don't want to touch it today, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to ask about a topic on what a member of Parliament in the UK mentioned, David Lammy. He's talking about Comic Relief. Comic Relief is a organization or is a program which do a lot of charity work for Africa. But what he's saying is that we don't want any more white savior. That's what he's saying. We don't want any more white savior. Sometimes you got these token pictures which are taken with persons with children, and what he's saying is that there's more to Africa than what is being depicted, you know. And so the jury's out on that in a certain way, and I'm sort of listening to different views on it as well. And I believe it's a topic, Lammy ruffled the bed, but I think it is very important for it to be ruffled. It's important that people are helped, important that charities take place. It's important also that as black people, while we talk up, we need to also put up. That's what I say as well. We got to put up as well, as much as possible. So that's my initial thoughts on that, but it is something which will have to be taken up another time. And who knows, maybe Variety D, maybe you can come on and come on live, and I link you with it, and maybe we can we can do something about that. Yeah, maybe you should come on and hear your views on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, my topic today really is simply about a report which came out by the Children Commissioner that says over 27,000 young people, or rather children, are in gangs according to the Children Commissioner's report. But before I go there, I don't know if you've seen this. I don't know if you've seen this picture of a little horrible thing, look like Chucky, like a little evil looking thing. I can't even find it now. It's like this horrible thing that talks about what we call it. Where is it? I'm sure I flagged it up a while ago. They're talking about it tells children to commit suicide. It jumps up. Here it is. it jumps up in your timeline. Like if people are on, they said if you're on WhatsApp or your children are on Fortnite and all those sort of things, and it's this very ugly thing, you know. It's like one of those things from those horrible movies, and it says a 6-year-old tells how Suicide Game appeared on the Peppa Pig. But something my wife said to me also is that people are actually sharing it. People are sharing this thing more than anything else. People are actually sending it around, and they're saying it's a sort of hoax thing. But people are literally sending it around and scaring each other. People are sending it through WhatsApp with their mates. Adults are getting scared. So it is like this whole thing sometimes when people are talking about, Gucci may put out some horrible thing which is a bit very racist. Dolce & Gabbana put out certain things. And guess what? All of a sudden, everybody jump on it and everybody just share it. And then Gucci and Dolce & Gabbana clap their hands and say, job well done. We have got the black people, actually, if anything, I'll use that word, sharing it to the whole world. So therefore, we did a coup. So it is a similar thing with this ugly little Suicide Game thing, whereby it is being shared by people, and people are saying that, and they're saying it's a hoax. So we've got to be careful what we are sharing. That's what I always say. Careful of what we are sharing, you know. But the knife crime thing it's becoming an epidemic. The last show I did on it was actually Sunday, and it was 11 persons so far who are killed by knife. And this was London, ladies and gentlemen. This was London. It was 11, and I gave 11 names. And I believe since that, I believe there's been more, because I think they said there are 4 in one night or so. I don't know if it was before my show or after my show, but it is something which is deemed to be an epidemic. Now it reaches to a crisis proportion now, with this report, which is actually now saying that there is 27,000. This is what I say: 27,000 young people are in gangs, right? 27,000, you know, and the whole thing. And let me see if I can find, because I know this thing just keep jumping all over the place, you know. 27,000. But when I heard of the 27,000, I put out I put something out, and work with me here. I put something out to say, if there's 27,000 children who are in gangs or deemed to be in gangs based on how they work out the figures, 27 times 2, because it takes 2 to have a children. I know they are changing up the whole demographics now and changing up the whole game, you know, with same sex, and you know, people are messing up with eggs and all those sort of things now. But it takes 2 to have a child. So therefore, if it is 2 persons that take to have a child, then there's 2 parents. So where are the 54,000 parents? And I'm going to zone in onto that a bit, the 54,000 parents. Because they talk about 27,000 children who are, this is under 18, between 10 and 17 or so, they said, who are deemed to be in gangs. So therefore, what about the 54,000 parents? Work with me on this. So what is saying now? A report has estimated there are 27,000 children in gangs, as the Children Commissioner for England, Annie Longfield, calls on professionals to learn from the mistakes of sexual exploitation and treat children as victims, not perpetrators. So how did they reach this figure? And this is one of the things people are asking. How did they come about this figure? Each year, the Office for National Statistics runs a crime survey asking a representative sample of households about the experience of crime. For the past 3 years, it has asked children ages 10 to 15 whether they consider themselves to be a member of a street gang. Right? The Office of the Children Commissioner did its own calculation as well using these figures. Last year, a sample of 4,000 children, 0.7% of 30 children said they consider themselves to be in a street gang. The figure was scaled up to give an estimate of 27,000 figure for the whole population of children in England for a single year. Right? They're saying children in England who are members of gang or have connection with them, they're saying 313,000 know a gang member. 60,000 gang members or siblings of gang members. 27,000 gang members. 6,560 identified gang members, right? And the report concludes that the difference between the high and low figure is down to the fact that most gang members are not known to authorities, and they do not know for sure if it's certain that there's a group of young people involved with gangs who are not known to the authorities, but we cannot be assured as many as 27,000 children are in gangs. What they're saying is now the grooming which is being done by the gangsters or whatever like that, they are more sophisticated now. They look for vulnerable children. They look for children with problems in their family, in their homes. They look for children who wanted money and all those sort of things. They're using different tactics now. And what David Lammy was actually saying today, David Lammy was saying something like they keep coming at the younger, at the bottom level, the bottom tier of the whole thing, the county line, the young people, and also, but they are not reaching the middle class, the persons who are actually buying the drugs, or actually dealing with it from the confines of their armchair or whatever like that, and they're actually going, and most of it, what they're getting is the young gangs, right? So 27,000 children identify as gang members. I did a little digging, right? And I went and I searched for the report, and the where's the report? Here's the report here. Let me find it. This is the report. In gangs, yeah. Commissioner, yeah. It says, and it's a lot of information, and questions were asked like, who are the authors who created this report? And it is said here, and I'm look at it. The author is a Tom Clark, Senior Quantitative Analysis, Children Commissioner's Office, right? Tom Clark, he's the one who put together the report. I said, we are grateful to the Department for Education and Youth Offending Teams in England for providing the data using this report, and to Kaki, Care Work, Capital One, and Care Vision for providing assistance to areas in extracting the youth offending team data. Thanks also to Sophie Riley and Chris Stevens at the Youth Justice Board, Camden, Nottingham, Southend, and Ealing Youth Offending Service, and Dr. Tara Young for help in the initial scope of this work, right? Any views, inaccuracies, or errors remain the responsibility of the author, not the Children Commissioner or other parties, right? So therefore, that's where it came from initially. Now, let's break down, and this is what they talk about. Gangs, I was listening to Amani today, the guy who was stabbed and doing some work with young people, and they did a movie on him, and many of them are actually saying they do not like the word gangs, because gang sort of demonized, gang sort of is a negative thing, and therefore the word gangs is not something to be used. I don't know what you think. So therefore, if it is not gangs, what do you use otherwise? What is the word that you use? Because gang is an assembly, they say, of persons. Gang, what does it mean to be a child gang member in England? And this is a question which is said, gang membership is complex. For some children, it represents little more than a loose social connection, a hashtag for Instagram, Yet this is the exception. Abu Bakr, what is the solution? That is the key thing. I think we have been talking about what is the solution for a long time. And I always use one of the bases. I want the base for solution. That is why I mentioned 27,000 children they're talking about in gangs and in crime. I flip the script by saying, where are the 54,000 parents? And that is where I'm going to go to later, because I believe the solution comes in all different formats. It comes with the government, it comes with the mayor, it comes with the police and all different aspects. But I believe there's a core aspect, there's a core element where the solution comes from. Of course, in a way, some persons or some young people they're not gone. But there's a word that they say gone, mean to say that they are slightly unreachable now, but there's nothing as unreachable for anybody, because we are seeing gang members who are reformed and they're actually doing work in school, and they're helping different persons out there, people that I know. So therefore, there's no one which is beyond reform. There's no one beyond redemption. There's no one beyond forgiveness. And one of the things which is very interesting, as what somebody said to me one time in confidence, and no name is called, is that she and her daughter was going to a meeting, and while going to the meeting where they're talking about gang members or so like that, she saw on the panel someone who actually gang raped her many years ago, right? So therefore, I think the issue is that it is so complex in a certain way. It is so complex in a certain way whereby persons who are actually leading the way now are actually perpetrators in the past, and maybe some crime, which, you know, just like how you're seeing right now, you're seeing Michael Jackson. The two boys are talking about Michael Jackson was molesting them all these years. You see R. Kelly, whereby the pedophilia been molesting these girls all these years. You see Bill Cosby been molesting these people all these years. You're seeing Harvey Weinstein, and it's so funny. I just flipped the script right there for a second. If you notice, they're going for documentary on Michael Jackson, documentary on R. Kelly, documentary on Bill Cosby. But what you don't see, the documentary on Weinstein, documentary on Kevin Spacey, documentary on the Catholic cronies, all those persons who have been pedophile, bothering young boys all these years. But what you're seeing is these documentaries on the black people. But anyway, I just flipped it right there just to talk about where I'm actually going. So to talk about the gang, the criminal gangs operating in England are complex. You see, I'm learning these things as time go by, because we've got to equip ourselves, equip our minds, and as I learn, I'm actually given. Criminal gangs operating in England are complex and ruthless organizations which use sophisticated techniques to groom children and chilling levels of violence to keep them compliant, right? To keep them compliant. They prey upon marginalized children who have often been let down by multiple agencies. As well as gang members, there are many gang associates and others on the periphery, not given the status of membership but being groomed and exploited by gangs. Many of these children don't feel that they have any choice about their situation. I'll share the report with you after in the link so you can actually read it for yourself, you know, right? And so the base that they're talking about is the whole gang aspect, because, you know, growing up in Jamaica, which is myself, you know, I used to do break dance, you know, spin on my head, spin on my back, and all those sort of things. And I operated with a group. I think we never call ourselves a gang, but we were a group. We were a break dancing group, a few of us, and we walk around in a big jacket and crazy. It is crazy to be in Jamaica in the hot sunshine, and you have on a black bomber jacket, thinking that you're Michael Jackson, all those sort of things, you know, and wrap up in a hot sunshine in black jacket. You know, those were crazy days. But yes, but what I'm saying right there, we operated in a group, but we never call ourselves a gang. Because rightly, as Amani says, and rightly as the program said today, when you use the word gang, gang has a negative connotation, right? And there are many different stereotypes, because some people are saying you can know gang members, right? Somebody was saying that of the 27,000 people need to watch what their children are wearing, because it is deemed to be gang related. And it's the reason why it is good, the initiative that the 56 young men, or 56 by CFAS, which they have created this program where they have 56 men dressed in hoodies, persons who are lawyers, doctors, professionals dressed in hoodies. And I believe that such a stereotype which need to be broken is a part of the whole thing, because young black boys are persons, individuals, not just black boys. And one of the things that I said, even regarding the 27,000, the 27,000 did not break down, and I'm looking, have not given a breakdown of race, because the knife crime now, it is not a respecter of persons, not a respecter of sex, not a respecter of white, black, Asian, whatever like that. It is not a respecter of anyone. The knife does not respect anyone. Okay, so I know persons sometimes will want to lay it out as if to say it is a black and black issue, but really and truly, when I was reading some names last week of the persons who have been killed and the persons who have been stabbed, they are not all black persons. right? And we do not know for the other parts of the nation, because, as I say, this is 27,000 children in England, qualified at England, not London, England, right? So therefore, of course, it excludes Scotland, it excludes Wales, it excludes Northern Ireland, but it includes Birmingham, Nottingham, Sussex, all these different area counties within the UK. So therefore, one has got to break it down in that respect. Now, how many children are in gangs, right? How many children are in gangs? British Crime Survey data held by the Office of suggests that there are 27,000 children who identify as gang members, right? There are also children who are being groomed and exploited by gangs, but would not identify as gang members. New analysis by the Children Commission Office of these children on the periphery of gang members shows that 313,000 children aged 10 to 17 know someone they would define as a street gang member. Within the group, the following groups are particularly vulnerable. 33,000 children are the sibling of a gang member. 34,000 children who have been the victim of violent crime in the past 12 months and either a gang member or know a gang member. One of the things they always say sometimes, and let's use Jamaica for argument's sake, when they have lots of killings and lots of there, people always say there's always a level of relationship in a certain way. It could be some bad deal, it could be some hit on someone because of some deal gone bad. I don't know if persons know of this person called Father Foul. It has no relevance here really, but of his history, one don't know why, if he was killed by virtue of something which has happened in the past or whatever like that. What I'm just trying to say, therefore, sometimes a lot of the, and this is what statistics is showing, and that's why I like statistics. As a lawyer, you go by facts and you try to get figures. Sometimes people can say the figures can be disproved. Well, the figures can be disproved, but until it is disproved, those are the figures based on the statistics. And that's why I set out where they got the figures from, And so therefore, these can be disproved as much as possible. And therefore, and it is just like the recent discussion talking about persons should not go back to Jamaica the other day because of their targeting returning residents, and because of a few persons who have been killed. One is one too many. But I came from a different angle and said, we need facts, we need information, we need to know how many returning residents for the past 10 years has traveled to Jamaica and have been killed. How many of them has traveled to Jamaica? If 20,000 traveled to Jamaica for the past 10 years or so, and of the 20,000, how many got killed and who killed them? And therefore you get the facts, you get the figures, because otherwise than that, we're talking about sensationalism and we're talking about hyping things, and we're trying to get like and we're trying to get dislike and we're trying to boost our social media thing than dealing with the issues at hand, right? And that is why this is something that we have got to really consider, and we each person, I believe, have a responsibility in addressing this. Right? It said the group we think that authorities should be the most concerned about are the group who are either in a gang or on the peripheral gang and have experienced violence in the past 12 months. This is 34,000 children in England. Only a tiny fraction of these children are known to authorities. Just 6,560 gang members or associates are known to the Children's Services or Youth Offending Team. This means there are more than 27,000 children in England believed to be experiencing gang violence, but who are not identified by the authorities. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sil Bernstein. If you're on Facebook, I'd love for you to share this video and say something and comment. And those on Instagram, well, I don't think you can share it on Instagram, but thank you for being there as well. And please share this video. Right? Now, the commissioner said today, she was talking about that, and Jon Snow on Channel 4 said, well, it seems to be a crisis situation. Leroy Logan, former commander of police, said it needs to be a national thing to look at, to deal with it. And Jon Snow said there need to be a task force then, because one has got to break it down as to identify the characteristics of children involving gangs. Who are the children most at risk of being groomed and exploited by gangs? What is their nature? What is their background? One of the things I always say all the while is, whenever a child is being stabbed, whenever a child is being killed, the focus a lot is on the victim. But I would always like to find out what is the story about the parents of the perpetrator in their home, finding out where, or did they see where they're going off, where there was a derail, where they believe they failed. Because most time when we see these crimes, and even the persons who have been killed, and when studies come out after Uvalde underground that actually they were involved already in certain ways, but it's difficult to say those things because persons are grieving and they don't want to hear those sort of things. So therefore, it's always that there was a good person, there's a good guy, or blah blah blah. Until on WhatsApp, on the underground, the young people know of something else. Young people also know when someone is on county line and they're gone off and they say they are missing. They'll say, Jacko is down there, he's not gone, or something like that. He's doing running for a couple of weeks. That's what I'm getting to understand, because I'm not, for the record, I'm not street or stuff like that, as they say. But that doesn't mean to say one don't get involved with these situations just because one hasn't grown up in this particular area or understand something. But once you become a father, once you become an adult, and once you are a person who has an interest in young people, you have a responsibility. That's why I always say we have got to be our children's keepers, our brothers' keepers, our sisters' keepers. We all have to have a responsibility for each other. If you agree with me, say amen. What are the characteristics of children involving gangs? Right? While it is important to remember that all children can fall victim to gangs and criminal exploitation, the report shows that on the whole, gang members are highly vulnerable children with a range of factors increasing their risk of being drawn into gangs. Comparing children in gangs who are assessed by Children's Services with other children referred to Children's Services, there's an already vulnerable cohort reveal children in gangs are what? 95% more likely to have social and emotional health issues. More than twice as likely to be self-harming. 41% more likely to have a parent or carer misusing substances. Note that. 41% more likely to have a parent or carer misusing substances. 8 times more likely to be misusing substances themselves. Right? Look at this. 95% more likely to have social and emotional health issues. Children in a home. More than twice as likely to be self-harming. Children in a home. 41% more likely to be a parent or carer misusing substance. Children in the home of parents misusing substances. 8 times more likely to be misusing substances themselves. Children in a home, right? Misusing substances. Comparing children in gangs with the criminal justice system to other young offenders reveal that children in gangs are 76% more likely not to be having their basic care needs met at home, as assessed by the practitioner. 37% more likely to have witnessed domestic violence. 37% more likely to be missing, absent from school. Now, as a child care practitioner and solicitor advocate, and I go to, people don't know, I don't talk about this, but I go to court most days doing court care proceedings for local authority, and most of it is dealing with the interests of a child, removing children from birth to adoption. And you read a lot of things, and there are a lot of children who are in care, work at various local authorities around this country. And it's the same thing. It's nothing new. It's the same thing. You have children in care. And you got parents who are not able, they lack the ability, the cognitive ability to care for their children. And as a result, that is where the state comes in and try to care for them. And sometimes that care process sometimes can be a recipe for disaster, I've seen, but anyhow, as I said, any example that I use can be deemed to be an example of a case that I'm working on, so won't go there. But just to know that that's the area which I operate in as a practitioner in area of child and care law, separate and apart from my talk show. Who are the children most at risk of being groomed and exploited by gang? And this is why the commissioner was saying that there maybe need to be some evening classes where parents can actually come and they can get to understand what are some of the key indicators that they need to look at. Because I believe the solution a lot is in education. Because when you call the police, you're calling the police when things are out of hand. You're calling the police because there's chaos. You're calling the police because the community has failed. You're calling the police because you have failed as a parent. That's the reality. You have failed as a parent. You have failed as a community. Your home has failed to take care of your child. And as a result, you call the police. And all the police can do is lock up that child. All the police can do is lock that child up. Take that child out of society. Take that person out of society. Take that perpetrator out of society and put them and confine them in a way whereby they can be rehabilitated. Right? That's what the police, that's what the justice system is there for. Take them out. That is where we're seeing that we have failed. So therefore, what parents, what people need to do, as someone said, what is the solution? The solution is in education. The solution is in understanding. And this is one of the key ones. Who are the children most at risk of being groomed and exploited by gangs? Yes, you got to try to deal with the gangs. It's like a parallel action. Deal with the gangs. But then the gangs won't have anybody to prey on if there's no children to be groomed. If there's no children who are living in a home where the parents or the carer are misusing substances, where they are not misusing substances themselves, whereby they are not self-harming. So therefore, we need a happy home. Now, that's a dream in a way. It's a pipe dream because people are all working, people are all struggling, people are, single mothers, single fathers. Everybody's trying, children at home, and sometimes give them the Xbox or whatever like that to keep them quiet. And therefore, there's not building that relationship. Who are the children most at risk of being groomed and exploited by gangs? Gangs set out to prey on vulnerable children and to exploit their weaknesses. Identifying the factors that make children more susceptible to gangs enable us to identify which children are at the greatest risk. The children who have multiple interlinked vulnerabilities, both at the individual level, such as mental health, special educational needs, and the family level, such as abuse and neglect. These vulnerabilities cause children to act out or may make them susceptible to gang inducement or threats. These risks can be moderated or exacerbated by whether and how services respond when the child needs first emerge in a particular. A child being excluded off role from school increases the susceptibility to gang violence. And that is why this whole issue with expulsion and suspension from school, it's a recipe for disaster. Total recipe for disaster. Child is out of school, parents still have to work, child is at home, bored, hands, idle, what's going to happen? Then his mate knock on the door, and mate who is also out, and they start go out, try to, get themselves excited or whatever like that. That's a problem. And so you see, it's a wide range of things. And I mean, this is something that we've been talking about for a long time. This is something I don't believe that the answer is going to be something which one is going to get today. I believe we have the answer still, totally. I totally believe that we have the answer. I totally believe that we have the solution. There's been meetings upon meetings. There have been programs upon programs. There has been talk shows upon talk shows. I even did a solution-oriented summit, and they always have the solutions. Let me see what Nicola said. The key indicators when your child has been permanently excluded from school and been sent to a PRU, people excluded from mainstream society. Yeah. And Nicola, I was in court one day, and it was a case, and I think one of the options was PRU, and the judge said, do we have to do that? Do we have to do that? The judge shook her head and said, do we have to do that? It was like the last option. Because the judge sort of understand what's happening. The judge said, do we really have to do that? Do we really have to do that? Do we really have to do that? And it's a recipe for disaster, excluded from mainstream society, right? I was watching a program with a judge in America, and I don't know if you see that program, and there's a little boy there, and the boy had ADHD, but he was a brilliant little boy, and he was I think he was 12 years of age, and he was saying he sees himself as normal, yet people see him as not normal. And what school system does, maybe separate them, and they feel ADHD, and all those, and send on all those sort of things. So therefore they feel a bit different. But Uncle Boy was saying, I'm normal, but people treat me differently. But I'm normal, but people treat me differently. And that is something again as well. Because at the end of the day, I believe that, all young people, all children or so, they have this ability of greatness within them, and we've got to find it, But I want to go back onto the characteristics of gang-associated children, young people. He said, family factors. Let's look at the whole family factors, because I believe strongly that is where one of the strong area is of solution. The family factor. I agree there's a need for more community centers. I agree that there's a need for more police to take away the gangs off the road. I believe that there's a need for more funding for different aspects. But one of the things that I believe very strongly is about the home, that base. Because guess what? Just like in Mafia and all those sort of movies, when you have these Mafia movies or whatever like that, you always talk about the family. Apparently the parents are living off the proceeds. Parents being aka single, getting their sky paid for. Perhaps if drugs were legalized, then the money made on it wouldn't be so lucrative. Actually, what you said right there, Lavinia, is exactly what a former groomer used to say. Because what they did as well, and this is a parallel thing with Michael Jackson, he said, what they did, the groomers, they groomed the parents as well, right? They see the lack in the home. They see that they need a washing machine, so they give them a £200 there, and they make the parents sweet, because the parents have a lack, more than likely a single mother or so, and therefore they saw. And the guy said as well that sometime when the children go away, the parent know that the child has gone away for a period of time, because they set them straight, right? And therefore, yes, the children also live off the proceeds of it as well. Now, as for the legalization of it, that is something else. It could, that is something which they're all talking about. In America, they're all talking about legalization of. Well, I think we have the marijuana, we got the cocaine, we got the other things. So that's a fundamental discussion. What the government have to look at. Family structures, as you said, Lavinia, is not what it used to be. Definitely not. So constantly across the family factor, the vulnerability at least prevalent for gang associated, and it's a parental substance misuse. And for like local authorities, in both the SIN and YOT data, parental substance misuse is significantly more likely to be identified as a concern by practitioners amongst gang-associated children, particularly once demographics are accounted for, right? Parental substance misuse. Parental substance misuse. Once difference in age, gender, and ethnicity are controlled for, this suggests that gang-associated children are 68% more likely to have this identified by practitioners as a concern. Hair strand tests, drug tests, is a lucrative business in the UK, because a lot of parents that come into court through the care system or whatever like that, drug tests, right? And as a result of that, you got children being born with withdrawal syndrome as well, children being born with drugs in their bloodstream. And therefore, the recipe for disaster, or the recipe for going down, is already there, started from even before birth. So when I mention about what about the 54,000 parents, it takes two to tango. Okay, one might not be around, but at least the 54,000 parents. What about the 54,000 family members? Okay, maybe the grandmother will have to parent the mother and also parent her grandchildren at the same time. You know? Right? Yes, families used to go to church, and the church used to support for the families, for the community. But no, nobody go to church anymore, in a way, because, you know, that's too bigoted. That's what they call it, bigoted. What I don't understand is what is that they do with the money to improve their situation, you know? So you talk about the parental alcohol misuse. Evidence for links with parental alcohol misuse are less clear through gang-associated children, or at least likely to have this identified at assessment as other children in need. Young offenders. Regarding parental misuse, rates are similar among gang-associated and non-gang-associated young offenders. However, once difference in demographic profiles are accounted for, this suggests gang-associated children, young persons, are 43% more likely to have this flag as a concern. Gang-associated CYP, children, young people, are slightly less likely to have parent, carer, alcohol misuse identified as a factor at assessment. Though again, this difference becomes non-significant, right? Yeah. Some Abu Bakr says, what is the solution? I gave you the solution. The solution is this: education, understanding what are some of the reasons why your children are going off track. They're talking about the different characteristics, which, as we mentioned, education. It's not about more police. It's not about more community centers. A lot of it emanates from the base, the home. The family ties are not that strong. Family ties need to be stronger. The community needs to be stronger. The police is coming there to deal with the chaos. And then what it does, it manifests another problem, because they go into jail, they go into prison, and now you have less black men out there as leaders. And then you got some black guys that were also confused. They're dressing in skirts, and they won't go there, you know. Parental mental health issues. 2 samples differ on the relationship between gang members and parental mental health issues. There's another one. Though together they suggest that once demographics are accounted for, gang-associated children are at least likely to have parental mental health concerns identified by practitioners. Domestic violence, abuse towards parent and carer. That's another issue. We're talking about the parents now. These 2 samples suggest that once demographics are accounted for, gang-associated children are at least as likely to have DV, domestic abuse, towards a parent, carer identified as a concern by practitioners, and within the ambit of the home. Children known to have witnessed domestic violence recorded at their latest assessment, you know, it shows that becomes a factor, right? In contrast, gang-associated children referred to children's service are less likely to have DV against a parent at assessment. However, while initial rates are lower, this becomes small and borderline, non-significant. Neglect, that's another thing. In both the sin and sin is children in need and young people, neglect and the young person's basic care needs not being met are significantly more prevalent among children that are gang associated than among those not gang associated, right? And then you got offending in the family, gang associated, notably more likely to have family members who have offended and to be living with known offenders compared to those who are gang associated. Violence towards a young person. Hi Paula, how are you doing? You know? So in a way, this is like Cohen going to the House of Representatives or whatever like that and saying Trump is XYZ and Trump is this and blah blah blah, and everybody say, we all know that. Nothing new really. It just maybe gives more flesh to the dry bone, if anything. And all this report is actually doing is actually just highlighting what people already know. And when people keep saying, what is the solution? I keep saying the solution is in your hands. The solution is in the community's hand, whatever community it is. And the record is out there, and it is out there that a lot of it is in the black community, whether we like it or not, whether we want to face it or not. So I'm not one who is gonna be kicking knocking down Sadiq Khan door, the mayor of London, and say, what are you doing about knife crime? Or the police, what are you doing about knife crime? Or the government, what are you doing about knife crime? You don't care. Now, the thing about it is that there's a point in a certain way, because as they say, if there are more white kids or so being killed or being stabbed, then they would come out very hard. But still, when they come out very hard, all they're actually doing is just locking up people. The trauma surgeons in the hospitals are actually finding this very concerning. One trauma surgeon said the worst thing that he has to live with each time is when they come in with a child who has been stabbed and they're trying to save their life, and they finish and the blood is all over them. Their next thing is this. This is what they got to do next. With the blood on their hands, and they're looking bloody or whatever. Because normally you have to understand traumas and the trauma department. And Donald Trump has said one time, there's blood all over the place, because guess what? They're cut and they're bleeding. I mean, you look at some of those knives, what these guys use, and they have to go out there, and they have got to go and speak to the parent and say sorry. And what the trauma surgeon said, the screams and the wailing and the crying cut through them like a knife. That's the knife they get. Right? That's what the trauma surgeon said. That's the knife they get when that scream from the parent or that wailing when that child is gone, because that becomes a child. And remember, no matter what we are, once there's a parent and once we're adults or whatever like that, we're still children to someone. I watched a video the other day with this guy, an American soldier. He came back from Afghanistan or wherever like that, or wherever he's on duty, and he knocked on his father's shoulder, and the father turned around and said, "Who is this man? Who is bothering me?" And he looked and he saw his son, and he said, Josh. And this guy is in the army. The son is in the army. And what the father said, "My baby's home." And they say it was a single father. "My baby's home." So no matter what, that child is still his baby, So can you imagine these young kids, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And we have seen or we have heard recently of some of these stabbings, some of these killings, whereby they go to, you said, they got stabbed and they go into the hospital, and then after that you hear that they pass away, or they pass away there, or they try to save them. And sometimes you see these videos, the police have to be the ones trying to do everything until the ambulance come. The solution is in our hands, I say, ladies and gentlemen. The solution is in our hands. And I'm not going to labor on this too much. I just wanted to just flag this up, and I'll send the report to you guys. But I believe that when the figures are talking about 27,000 children are in gangs, flip it, ladies and gentlemen, flip it, and say, where are the 54,000 parents? Where are the 54,000 parents? What is the situation there? And I broke down some of the problems that they have there, right? So therefore there are issues, family factors, toxic factors, young persons, current housing, I talk about the drugs, parents on drugs, talking about the lack of ability, the mental health issues, the cognitive issues and so like that. There's a vast amount of things. So therefore, so that is not actually saying, it is saying, yes, that the parents and the home has failed. Of course, there are reasons why. We can pick up the reasons. But we've got to accept that it has failed. So therefore, what one needs to do is build those, build up the banks. Create the banks to build that area. Taking care of oneself. Start from your home. And I believe that is one of the strongest messages. Now, as I said, some may gone. Or some may gone through the loop, if anything. But none is unredeemable. No one is unredeemable. That's the reality. That's a fact. As long as Jesus Christ is Lord, no one is unredeemable. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I wanted to say today, and just keeping it very, very, very simple and very straight and to the point, you know, because it is something we've got to keep our eyes on as much as possible. We can't let others, what should I say, fix our problem. You know, we've got to fix our problem. Okay, strongly, we've got to fix our problem. Okay, so thank you for that, and the other thing as well, I'm going to touch on that issue about David Lammy. I'll have to touch on that issue regarding the white savior with the African children as much as possible. I will touch on it some other time. But let me hear your views and let me hear your comments on this whole issue about young people and knife crime in the UK. Remember to like and share, and have a good night. I believe Question Time is going to be on now on television, and I believe they're going to be talking about this issue. So if you can catch it, please catch it as well. It's going to be in Catford, in my neighborhood as well. So ladies and gentlemen, have a good night, and God bless you, and take care of yourself, and please share this video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.